Raiders coach Ricky Stuart has slammed the Māori All-Stars coach Adam Blair for suggesting that Canberra's best players were pressured into missing the annual pre-season contest against the Indigenous All-Stars held last week. Stuart said Blair was naive, inexperienced, selfish for bringing into question the Raiders' support for the growth and development of both Māori, Pacifica and Indigenous players. Okay, now Ricky said this on Adam Blair. Anyone with an ounce of knowledge about rugby league would know how dedicated and proud the Canberra Raiders are in regards to supporting the development and opportunity to play at the highest level of our Māori, Pacifica and Indigenous players. Ruben Wiki, John Lomax, Laurie Daly, Mal Meninga, Quinton Ponga, Kenny Nagus. I could go on and on. Joey Tarpany has played in the last 4 All-Star games. Jamal Fogarty is an All-Stars representative. Our long-standing support and absolute understanding how special the NRL All-Stars game is has been deeply tarnished by these naive comments from an inexperienced person. This proud club does more for our Māori, Pacifica and Indigenous players than Adam Blair would ever do and will ever know of. Gloves are off, Scopey. This is...
There we go. Sticks with the reply. He doesn't miss, does he? I believe straight after the game, I think, was that where this all started? A response?
I think so. Well, there was comments from Adam Blair. We better get those which kicked it off. Yep. I will say this. I really like Ricky and I really like Adam Blair. I will say this. From Adam Blair's point of view, if you're Adam Blair, and what I've learned in relationships, Scopey, mates, partners, we can all think we're right and not necessarily all be 100% right. So there is somewhere in between. Adam Blair, the context of him, he'll think he's in the right. The context of Adam Blair is he's got this unique opportunity to represent his culture, the Māori team. And he doesn't get to coach every week like a lot of people. He may have ambitions to coach NRL one day. So he wants the best players available for him and to represent his culture, which I appreciate. Ricky Stuart just missed the finals last year. He's got a far bigger picture. He's not connected as intimately to the Māori culture as clearly Adam Blair. So I can also understand his point of view. Where do you stand on this, Justin?
Yeah, I'm with you. This is one of those ones where you can see both sides of it, Sugar. Normally I like to have a strong opinion either way. But with Blairy, this happens once a year. I guess, without completely or fully understanding where Blairy's coming from with this, is that there has been chat around this format and its future.
Yep.
And I think that's a huge part of it, potentially calling out Sticky for whatever he may have said. I haven't seen the exact quote to begin with, but there was a sense around the game being scrapped.
Yes.
There has been chat around that.
Okay, right. So that's that. Where do you stand on the game and where it's positioned? Do you like it?
I love it.
Yes,
I love it. It's huge for our culture. I grew up a proud New Zealand Māori person here in Australia. I got the opportunity to represent them in 2010 in an exhibition match against England. I would have loved for this format to have been around when I played Shug because, hopefully with, at the time during I was playing, when I probably got my closest in 13, there was, the New Zealand back row was stacked, but they also had a lot of Samoan players playing from Frankie Pritchard, Sonny Bill Williams played in the 2013, huge names, and deservedly so. I didn't need, not that I was ever going to be in front of them, but for the New Zealand Māori team at the start of the year, I might have been a chance.
Yeah.
So it would have been huge for me. And also, I fully understand where Ricky's coming from if he, without even knowing what conversations have been had behind closed doors. I fully appreciate the teams that are going to Vegas maybe having that conversation with players going, look, I think it's in the best interest for us.
Yep.
2 weeks out from a Vegas
Nico Hines and Braden Trindle did not play for the Indigenous All-Stars.
Yes, and Chance Nickel-Klogstad also come out and said that James Fisher-Harris was a huge reason why Warriors players played.
Yes.
I think he went in to see Webby, and Webby was then persuaded or understood the reasoning and allowed the players to play. So each to their own.
Yes.
If the conversations have been done properly and, one player, a senior player is petitioned for it a little bit more than another senior player, then so be it. Like I said, I go back to it. I normally like to have a strong opinion, but I can see both sides here.
Yeah, I totally agree. But have your say, folks. 1300 01 1170. The Raiders Māori boys didn't want to risk getting injured ahead of Vegas. Yeah, that's fair. And that's totally fair. Adam Blair's got a point. So too has Ricky Stuart. Adam Blair said this before we go to the break. Everyone's dream is to play NRL. And if you sit on the fringe of that, it's hard to stand up to your coach and say, hey, I want to represent my people. I understand how it works. The more games we get exposed to in the game, the more the game can say, if you're Māori, you're available to play in this game, the more they hold everyone accountable, then it becomes easy for the clubs to go, well, the game says you have to play. Unless you're injured, you go and play. There's so many talented players that could have been here, but due to pressures, for example, and this is what got Ricky a bit fired up, I love our Canberra boys, and we could have taken 5 or 6 of them and put them in our squad, but I get it. I'm on the other side now working for Newcastle. Those are 5 of Canberra's best players. So there you go. That is the fallout of the All-Stars. I love it. It's passion. That's what it is ultimately, and that's what the game brings. The Dragons are poised to land West Tigers veteran David Klemmer in a major boost on the eve of the 2025 season. This is in the Daily Telegraph. He's off contract with the West Tigers at the end of the season. He has been left out of Benji Marshall's 2 trial teams. Now, it's understood Klemmer has a clause in the deal that gives him a 12-month extension if he plays more than 14 games in 2025. These sorts of clauses come back, no pun intended, Tigers, but come back to bite. Negotiations have been taking place behind the scenes for Klemmer to join the Dragons, who are looking to solve their standoff with forward Frankie Molo, who the news today is that he can go and speak with other clubs. This is a fascinating story, and Scopey, you're pretty well connected to all things rugby league and those involved. Do you see David Klemmer down there in the Gong and at Cogra this year?
What about a straight swap, Sugar?
Okay, what would be the swap?
Frankie Molo. If there's uncertainty with what's happening with David Klemmer, I reckon a huge part of this, and reading that third dot point there you've got there around the clause, I reckon this is a huge part of it. And unfortunately, you know, when you sign these sort of deals that are game incentive based and give you the option to trigger contracts, and you are getting a little bit older, then you know these situations can rear their head, can't they, Sugar? For whatever reason, I'm not across the Frankie Molo situation. It seems that there has been, they've kept this in-house. They've kept it really in-house. I think it's quite sensitive down there. So if it's purely that Frankie Molo's looking for an opportunity, David Klemmer won't be a part of the plans. If you lose that David Klemmer, I'm looking across the board at the Tigers. I don't see a whole heap of depth behind Terrell May and Royce Hunt.
Okay, let me ask you this. You propose the straight swap, okay, effectively.
Depending on the money.
Okay, this is what I'm going to ask you. I'm about to go to America, and the currency exchange is through the floor. Dollar for dollar. Frankie Molo, David Klemmer in their careers. If a Frankie Molo dollar, a Molo dollar is worth 1, what's the Klemmer dollar worth?
Across the board or right now?
Across the board. No, right now. If they did the swap right now. Frankie Molo
it's
dollar.
It's nowhere near as big as a gap as it would have been 5 years ago, that's for sure. Okay. I like Frankie Molo. I know he's getting a little bit older now too, different body shapes.
So are you saying Clem's worth more or less?
Maybe slightly more because of the reputation and being able to play more minutes.
So 1 Frankie Molo dollar gets you... It's the equivalent to, you know, the Clem's getting $1.20 or something. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, something like that. Nothing too crazy. Like I said, I don't think there's a huge gap.
Okay.
And I actually prefer now, with the way that the game's going, I'm probably preferring smaller nuggety bodies in this modern foot. Unless you get, you know, the extreme, like they're outliers. Payne Haas, Tina Fasulamala Awi, guys that can move, just genetic freaks. But if you're comparing a guy who's getting a little bit older, big body now like Clem, who will, he's almost exactly what Flatto has been talking about with leadership and all that sort of stuff, and then getting a guy like Frankie Molo, maybe it could be a swap. Maybe they can find a way to make this work for both teams.
What, you're still here? Well, you can see more on the Joel and Fletch socials and catch us live on SEN Radio, you beautiful humans. What, you're still here? Well, you can see more on the Joel and Fletch socials and catch us live on SEN Radio, you beautiful humans.